What do you guys think about these private listings?
Oh, man.
Like all this.
Private listing is, it wouldn't hit the internet, it wouldn't hit Zillow, Redfin, all the sites, it would be on the MLS. Or, for example, if you had a tenant in there, it wasn't showing it, but the guy wants to sell. It was a way to put something on the market without losing market time, and then you kind of feel out the market.
But nobody sees it.
So.
Well, if you're an agent, you see it.
Yeah.
What are you talking? Okay. Anyways, let's see. Let's see.
So this is the thing, right? And we have firsthand private listing network, the PLN.
Okay.
We were interested in another property that was on the PLN.
Okay.
And this is where the trouble comes in, right?
In my opinion, and I'm going to put that out there.
100%.
To me, it's like a step up over for sale by owner, and this is why. Because if only the company can see that listing.
So we're all here, right? And we're all in real estate, and everybody probably out at home are like, what's going on with real estate? What's happening? Is it a good time to buy? Should I buy? Trump is in the office. The world is ending. I mean, the stock market crashed 1,000 points. I mean, at one point it was like 1,400 points. I don't know, something crazy.
It was crazy, man.
So people get worried. So
people are always going to be worried. I think that you're always going to have the worry bugs out there.
Yeah.
This is my interpretation of everything. I'm not a politician or anything. For instance, this whole FHA administration, right?
Yeah,
I think that a lot of us kind of saw that kind of coming down the pike, right? Because if you're thinking about the new administration, what's like one of their biggest agendas is immigration.
All right, everybody, episode 45, XR Podcast. Me and Greg are here, and we're very happy to have Leticia from Fulton Grace and Buy with Javi.
Buy with Javi. I don't even have a name anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, it's just Buy with Javi. It just rolls right off the tongue. Absolutely. So Javi, I mean, if anyone follows him, they're both all over social media. You just went live for like. Well,
half an hour.
Well, yeah, I think it was about 32 minutes.
32, yes.
32 minutes live?
Yes.
Well, we're waiting for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
The deal was.
For me. What do you mean?
Yeah, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your fellow realtor, like me and Greg, and Fulton Grace.
I got to start off with, hola mi gente, this is Leticia Andrade. So by Leticia and Fulton Grace. I've been in the business for quite some time now. Got licensed in 2005. And kind of like going back, right? I started in this business as a loan processor. So I think that's a little fun fact. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that actually.
That's a fun fact that a lot of people don't know. And they were talking about the mortgage business. And I started off in this business as a loan processor. Became a personal banker at Chase at an early age. Bought my first home at the age of 23. And fell in love with real estate, and this is where I'm at now.
What about Buy with Javi here?
Buy with Javi, man. Where did I get my? I actually.
Do you have a tagline?
Buy with Javi. That's the tagline. Buy with.
Okay.
Someone asked me like, "What do we buy?" I was like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I got different connections." They call me the plug, right?
The plug.
Exactly.
I mean, you just grew up.
What do you need? What do you need?
You
I
just
got
grew up with a bunch of Italians, so
exactly. You
know.
You pick up a certain.
I like the plug better. Just the plug. I like that. I'm gonna call it. That's awesome.
Frank, maybe you should use that.
Yeah, the plug.
Yeah, Frank the plug. I
Frank
like
the
that.
plug.
No, I can't take it. He said it here. It's too late. It's over.
It's taken.
If we would have said it behind camera, maybe I had a chat.
I actually just stumbled onto this business. So I was actually really fortunate that my high school had a work Excel program, right? Okay. So essentially, if your grades were in good standing order and if you had your credits by junior year, they would let you get out the last two classes early, but to be able to go and get a job, a part-time job. Wow. So I actually got my start at Columbia Mortgage. They're no longer around. Okay. But they actually gave me my first opportunity. I was a telemarketer. I was 16 years old, dialing for dollars, right? So a lot of people tell me like sometimes like, what's your secret to your success? I would say I started the business with no pressure of having bills to pay or a family to take care of. So it was fun. Yeah. Right. So I came in as a young kid, and it was fun to just jump on the phone and be like, hey, are you a homeowner? No. Would you like to become one? It's like you're selling energy. You're selling excitement, right? Yeah. So when you got nothing to lose as a kid, as a teenager, 18 to 19, that's all I did was just telemarketing, dialing for dollars, calling people, trying to get them to buy. We're talking about the good old days of subprime lending, right? Where it's like a 500 credit score, you could get 100% financing back in those days, right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
So if you really think about it, all the people are like, man, I missed out. I should have been buying something. Well, early 2000s, you could literally buy anything just being alive. in certain cases,
Yeah.
right? Some places you didn't even need a job or anything. That was the market back then, right? So I think that also had something to do with my success in the business because it was easy to be a loan officer.
I mean, you kind of seen it all, right? Like,
Yep.
You worked for Columbus, then you went to a subprime lender.
I actually went from Columbia Mortgage, ended up going to New Concept, which
Okay.
is where we actually kind of
Where we met,
Ended up leaving because Wells Fargo, plug for them, right? They sold me on the whole branding, big corporation, and the big bank theory of everything. Went to Wells for like about 4 months.
Yeah.
Realized that it wasn't what everybody was selling, right?
Got it.
It wasn't it was a broker world for
Yeah.
sure back then, in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
opinion. And then I went back to New Concept Finance
Got it.
and Piero Losaco, big shout out to
Yeah,
him because he
big
gave me
shout.
my first, what I would say like first good opportunity, right? He kind of saw like I was fearless on the phone.
Yeah.
And he was like, here's like 50 leads that my guys aren't working.
Call them up.
Call them up.
Let me stop you there. When you were at Columbia and you went to New Concept, Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
How long was that? Like how long each thing?
I would say, so I was at Columbia Mortgage for 2 years.
Okay.
When I wanted to become a loan officer, the guys that I was assisting as a loan officer assistant back then did not want me to become a
Okay,
loan officer.
but then you went to.
So that's when
But-
my buddy Luigi connected me with the concept.
and then you were there.
Remember Luigi?
Yeah, I remember Luigi.
Yeah,
and then you
Luigi
went.
Peretti, yeah.
No, where I'm going with
Shout out
it.
to Luigi.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with it is like, by the time you went there, back, how many years was that?
I would probably say 6 years.
So 6 years. So you worked 6 years. You weren't like killing it or anything at that point.
Oh, no.
So
Oh, you're talking about how.
that's what I try to tell
So
people
that's,
here.
you're saying.
that's actually a great transition, right?
Yeah, because
I was a lead guy, so I was playing with house money.
Yeah.
Right? When you're a lead guy, right? When your company is giving you leads,
Yeah.
we call that house money. So you're not getting paid your full commission. You're getting paid a little bit lower commission.
Correct.
But you're not having to go out there and get the business. You have a name and a phone number to call, and it's just up to you to convert the sale. So what I learned is there's a big difference from playing with house money and going out and getting your own business.
Of course.
Because that was
Yeah.
the situation, right? When I wanted to
Yeah.
become a loan officer, everyone was like, yeah, like, where are you going to get your deals? Where are you going to get this? You're not going to have access to, like, our lead system. I was like, young. Right?
Yeah,
I can do it. I can figure it out, But those were the growing pains, right? Because then all of a sudden, I was buying my own leads.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you're like, shit, I better work these leads 'cause I'm paying for them.
Oh yeah, it's a
right?
different animal. Yeah,
It's a different animal.
Sometimes people come and they want they become a loan officer, realtor, and they feel like year one they want to be top producer.
I mean, that's why Frank is getting to, because our audience, besides clients and new people, is a lot of realtors and people in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And people
Well,
think it's easy.
you know
they
what?
go do the social media. They think like because you guys have a tagline, or I have
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's easy. Look at them. They're having fun.
That's the part where a lot of people.
That much fun.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, what you're seeing is the outcome of all the
Yeah.
hard work that nobody is seeing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Those phone calls, those
but you went in with the right attitude. You're 16, 17, whatever. You gave yourself all that time, and you were just having fun. You weren't thinking like, oh, I gotta sell, I gotta get like 20 sales here. You were thinking like, let me go out there, do my best, have fun with it, and let's see, learn.
Yeah.
And then then you went to one thing, you went to another thing, but all the time you're picking up new skills, getting comfortable,
new skills,
learning.
new opportunities. And I would tell you this, and this is something where for people getting into this business, right? Because it's not easy, right? You could have lightning in a bottle, because I've seen that. I've seen people where they have no experience whatsoever, real estate or loan, but they're extroverts. They got a big network.
Got it.
Everybody knows them. Everybody
Yeah.
loves them, right?
Yeah.
Those are people who can come in
Yeah.
and really light up the scoreboard
And go
immediately
fast.
and go fast.
Yeah, those are a little bit different.
But those are the people that burn out.
Yes.
Because if you don't have the systems
agree.
in regards to after you close those people, how are you going to follow up to
Yeah.
get the past client referrals, right? That's the sustainability. That's the holy grail of our business.
Think about all of us in this table. We're all talking about, she's like 05. You're
05,
05.
yeah.
I got 2003 license. Frank a little
2010.
bit 2010. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been around a long time if you think
Right.
about it.
And
And I
the
still
thing
feel
is-
young, but it's a freaking long time.
Where does the predominant amount of your business come from? Probably referrals,
Yeah.
It's
right?
relationship. 100%.
Relationship and referrals.
Yeah.
So that's the part where I tell those lightning in the bottle people, right? Because I've seen that. They come
Yeah.
in the first or second
They do
year,
good, yep.
great numbers, but then third,
Yeah.
fourth year,
They start
everything
falling.
starts to decline. Well, if you don't have systems
But they
for
forget,
following
exact, they forget the system.
your
though.
mailer that
Yeah.
you're sending them to stay
Yeah.
on top of them. So when they're ready to sell, they're going to sell with you.
Yeah.
Or when their cousin is ready to
Yeah.
buy, they're going to refer you. That's the part of the systems where people like us have been doing
I
it long
agree.
enough.
Yeah.
We can teach that
Yeah.
to the new
Yeah.
people that are coming into the business, because that's what's needed. But
Yeah.
for those people that are not extroverted, I had one agent that she moved here, completely different market. She was originally from California. So
Yeah.
she had no friends, no anything, right?
Okay.
So for her, it was like, well, you got to learn how to network. You got to grow a friendship network,
Yeah.
right? So she ended up going to like Eventbrites, like meetups and stuff like that. She was a runner, so she ended up going into a running group and stuff. So all of a sudden, those groups started developing into relationships.
Yeah.
And then once she got her license to be a realtor, she was able
Yeah.
to turn those relationships
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
transactions.
that makes sense. But even then, even if you do turn a relationship and you do the transaction, then you got to step it up when you do the transaction.
Of course.
And they could still trade you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's,
No,
not,
it's
it's not a walk in the park.
No, it's
You
not.
know?
It's not.
That's
What
for
has
sure.
been the toughest part for you guys, would you say, like in coming up in the business? What would you say was like your biggest obstacle?
Over the years?
over the years?
I mean, for me, like, I think I came in with just a different mentality. Just like, okay, like I'm gonna try this, make some extra money. So I didn't really have an expectation, like, oh, I gotta be top producer.
Yeah.
So then 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, I'm like, oh, let me go full time.
Yeah.
Let me go full time. Then all of a sudden, boom, took off because I was doing
Okay.
full time.
Yeah.
But I felt like, I really appreciated the business.
I mean, besides that, yeah, you appreciate.
Appreciate-
Let's say the truth. We appreciate the money. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's hard.
Yeah,
to
like,
keep up,
well,
but we could build. It's a great
Yeah, what you
deal
can make. I mean, unless you're like a professional, you're making good
I mean,
money.
you're not a
right?
brain surgeon.
Yeah, you're not a brain
You're
surgeon.
not.
So, and if things go good, it's an easy job. When things get
Correct.
complicated, just like any other job,
Of course.
it becomes very difficult. So the hardest thing is always, from the beginning to today, is always like when you get traded and you lose that deal. That's always the hardest. I know it's going to happen this year. I know it's going to happen next year. I know it happened last year. It'll happen the year after. It's just, you just feel it when it happens. So,
What do you think, Leticia?
I'm just saying, I had a totally different story than you guys. My motivation was very different.
Okay.
I was a single
Yeah.
mom. I was a very young single mom. So when I
Wow.
first started even stepping into the workforce,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to have like let me start working at a retail store or something mindset.
Got it.
I started as a receptionist at a small Century 21 office.
Nice.
And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
My mindset was didn't even start like with like real estate or saying, oh yeah, I'm going to become a real estate broker. It just everything kind of fell in my lap. I started with a Fortune 500 company, switchboard operator. And then that's when I kind of got introduced to like, hey, you're very organized.
Yeah.
I got hired by State Farm Insurance. And then that's when a small brokerage took me on and said, you're organized. I would love for you to be a loan processor. So at the age of, in my 20s, my early 20s, I was a young mom at 19. My motivation was like, let's get out of the stereotypical renter's mentality,
Yep.
which that's what my mom was.
Yep.
I was raised moving pretty much every year. And so when I saw the opportunity of, all right, let me become a loan processor, that's when I saw the potential of how much money I could make.
Yeah.
Right? So when I first started, I was making like $23,000 a year. I jumped from 23 to like 28, almost 30,000 a year. Going into becoming a loan processor.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, I was recruited to go to one of the big boxes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I worked as a loan processor for Countrywide Home Loans. Fake it till you make it type of story, but it's because of who you know, where you're gonna get that opportunity of, all right, now we're gonna take you to that next level of
Yeah.
becoming a loan processor for a bigger box company where
Wow.
we're closing over 100 units between two loan processors.
Wow.
And that's a big deal because working for Countrywide Home Loans, for those of you who know, this is where we were like, oh yeah, balloon loans, stated income, all of that. The loan officer will come in with the file and we did everything else.
Everything else.
We opened the file all the way to closing,
Wow.
to post-closing possession. We had temporary agents that would come in to help us close the file, package them up, and ship them off to Van Nuys, California, which our main office was
Wow.
at, and that's where they used to house all of our files.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, guys, it was all paper. We didn't have any scans. We didn't have anything. Everything was paper. So we would have to like physically handle the paperwork.
That's a lot.
Oh, there was
There's
a lot
going on.
A lot going on from
Oh,
opening.
yeah.
But what I can say about that experience, and this is where I was able to become a homeowner at the age of 23, because my commission was way
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
what my actual salary was.
But then also, besides that, you were grateful of that commission.
Oh,
You know? And
it was
so it probably
amazing.
made you work even harder. You know, there's a lot of people in the industry, like we were saying, that, you know, there's people like that have a little talent, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they make a lot of money, but then they start buying the Rollie, you know, getting the nice car, and
Well, they're not investing
You know?
back into the business.
100%.
That's what
Yeah.
I see a lot of people.
How many
are-
realtors don't even own a house? You own one at 23. That's super impressive. There's a lot of realtors I know that do not own a house.
Absolutely.
They
And
don't,
that's the
no
thing.
investment property, nothing.
But I would tell you guys, and you guys are the broker owners, right? That's, I think, where there's been a gap. At least for me on my side of the fence, I've always noticed that there is a lack of mentorship in the brokerage community for realtors, right? Because I think that should
Yeah,
be a
it's true.
conversation
I
that you
agree
need
with
to
that.
set up your
I agree
realtors,
with
right? Hey, congratulations, you're licensed.
Yeah, I actually make
This
fun
is
of my
how you should
realtors that
manage your
talk- I-
finances,
yeah,
right?
you're right.
You should put
You're
some
right.
money away for taxes.
You're right.
Because I've actually been
I agree.
noticing the main reason why most of my realtors who don't own a property, because what do? You guys have the beautiful 1099,
Yeah.
right? Which everybody loves.
They write everything
You get
off.
to write everything off. I've seen top producing agents, right? Where it's like, they're making over 300, 400 grand.
Yeah.
But we're only reporting maybe 40, 50K to Uncle
Yeah.
Sam, right? So that's also something that has to be in play. But I think that that's where the education piece, because for me, I always say, if you're a real estate agent, did you know that you could use your own commission to go towards the proceeds of your home?
Yep.
Right? So if you're doing a 3% conventional loan and you're getting paid 2.5% commission on that deal, that basically covered your down payment for your transaction.
Yeah.
And most realtors don't know that they could do that. Like, you don't need to have the funds from your commission in your account. You just have to represent yourself in your transaction and ask for your commission to be used in the transaction.
Yeah.
And that can totally be done, right?
Yeah.
But, and there now, like we were talking a little bit earlier, there's just more options for people. Like, one thing that's like really coming in vogue right now, since we're talking about paying Uncle Sam, is people need to make that decision on whether or not what's more beneficial, right? So debt service cost ratio loans, which is like the investor loan that everybody's using. If you're not reporting a lot of income, you could use a DSCR loan, because technically you're
So what's the
qualified in the
DSR?
market.
Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
while we're on
So-
subject, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it, because
So like, this is a big topic
As you
because
came
it's
from the-
tax filing season right
but
now,
I want to
right?
see, you came from the subprime world
Yes.
back in the day, right?
Back in the day.
So
So to me, this is like the new age of subprime, right? When
Okay.
we're talking about non-QM, that means non-qualified mortgage. Doesn't
Okay.
meet the restrictions that qualified mortgages were enacted with the CFPB, right?
Mm-hmm.
So give you an example, hypothetical right now. I have one of my clients where she wants to buy a property. The
Okay.
property that she's looking to buy is probably going to be between 400 to 600,000.
okay,
Right? So her income right now, if she wanted to buy that type of property, she's probably going to have to file maybe about 140 to 130,000 adjusted gross income.
Okay.
Right? So right now, with a calculation that I gave to her is, how much are you going to have to pay Uncle Sam in taxes for that amount of filing? And maybe you could consider doing a 20% down loan instead and do a DSCR, stands for debt service cost ratio. So essentially what a lender is looking to do is you're gonna finance the property with 20% down.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get what's called a rent market schedule and make sure that that rent market schedule covers the mortgage payment. Okay? So this way, when you have someone where maybe they're not filing a lot of income, they can opt for the DSCR loan, because now you're not qualifying them based off of their income.
But
you're
you qualify
qualifying them
based
off of
on
the
the-
market rent
Okay.
that that property can generate.
so you qualify just in case the lady takes off from the house, because she's buying as a primary residence,
No,
right?
technically,
But
that's
let-
an investment loan that you're
Yeah,
using.
because I'm just trying to figure out the lender protection, right? Because a lender, at the end of the day, they're trying to cover themselves.
You're
you
always
know?
going to cover your butt.
But-
cover themselves, or
Which is why you do
or to
that
make
with
Uncle
20% down.
Yeah, or to make Uncle Sam cover it. You know?
The money that you have, the skin in the game is it for everyone, right? So I always say, when you're talking about these like non-QM, that's why they have 20, 25% down. Because it's a lot harder for you to walk away from 20, 25% of
Got
your
it.
money that you
Got
have
it.
invested in that property compared to maybe 5% or 3% down.
But technically, it's a great program if you think about it.
It's a great program. So we did the calculations for my client. Routinely, she's probably filing 29, 30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right? For her to file her true income of like 160,000,
You would have had her.
you guys do the math.
She needs
She's
to
probably
dish out
going to
like
have to dish out 30,
40
40K.
grand.
Yeah.
Right? So
In
that's
taxes.
30, 40K in taxes.
That she saved.
That she is not going to get any return on. It's taxes, right?
Yeah.
So instead, she's going to continue her filing and use that money instead for the down payment for her purchase.
Question, are the rates a little higher in these programs?
Of course.
Okay.
So the rates are always going to be a little bit higher than you would get on a standard
Okay.
mortgage, but that's
gives you an
technically the
option.
benefit, right? So when you look at the taxability cost and the difference, sometimes you do come out ahead,
Yeah.
right?
And you're
Pretty
putting
good.
you're putting more money down. So
You're putting more money
instead of giving
down.
it there, maybe pay a higher rate. But since it's a small mortgage amount, maybe it balances
Yeah.
out.
And
So
give the
that's for
opportunity to buy.
investment properties, right? Because we also don't want to commit fraud out there, right? So a bank statement loan, right? A bank statement loan is for primary occupancy.
Okay.
Right? So let's say you're a business owner and you have money that's flowing through the
Okay.
business and we could document that that money is flowing, but maybe you just have a low tax fund. You could do a 12-month bank statement loan and get them qualified based off of the cash flow
Not
that's
bad.
actually coming in.
Not bad.
Right? So there's a lot of alternatives for people
Not
out
bad.
there. So it's not necessarily
I mean, it's
like
not
you
as,
have to do
sorry
a
to
high
interrupt you.
adjusted
It's not
gross
as bad as the subprime, but because, just to correct,
Yeah.
people don't think, subprime was,
Subprime is
it was
a
numbers that was made up.
whole-
Yeah. Sometimes
they're made up
you're putting
numbers.
nothing.
Sorry.
You're putting nothing down.
Well, you're not putting
Yeah.
anything down. Like back then, just so people know what subprime was, basically
let
it's
them know.
stated income. So if you came into my office and said, Javier, I made $500,000, I had to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask you for documentation or anything, or otherwise I would be in violation of equal credit opportunity.
It was a
laws,
verbal agreement.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's an agreement. If
Yeah.
the lender is providing this product, you have to provide that to the consumer. So we had a lot of people who were sometimes they were either self-employed. We had a lot of other people where sometimes they weren't the prominent person that was on the mortgage, but maybe they had relatives that were also going to live in the property with them, right? So a lot of the times that's what the situation was. It was just they were stating their income to be able to obtain the property, but in most cases, it was a whole family that was responsible for that mortgage and things like that, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'd say right now, I don't think we'll ever get to that risky of loan products where like 100% financing. But that's why I say like these non-QMs, they're kind of tiptoeing on that, except
But I think
they
that-
learned their lesson that when you do 100% financing on a high-risk loan, all the risk is on the bank.
Yeah.
Right? So by putting these 25% down requirements on them, they're significantly reducing the possibility of foreclosures on these homes because people will now walk away from, if you're talking a $400,000 asset, you're talking about $80,000 to $100,000 of your own money that's invested in there just with the down
Yeah.
payment. Right? So skin in the game. That's what it always
Yeah.
is about.
But I feel like the government, at the end of the day, whatever, programs they throw out there, they do it for a reason.
Oh, of
Even
course.
back then with the subprime, there was a reason. It was I think maybe the economy should have crashed after the Twin Tower.
So
And they did it to push the economy.
this is like random. Very random, right?
Okay.
Because I'm like, I like stats. And Barry Habib actually had a crazy stat. So one of the main reasons why we had a housing collapse in the early 2000s, right, is everything is usually dictated 30 years in our business. Why? Because the average age of a first-time home buyer is usually the age of 30 or in the late 20s, right? So what we had in the early 2000s, we had a huge vacancy issue, right? There was a lot of vacant properties. So we built more properties than
Yeah.
we actually had buyers for. So we had a boom in new construction in the late 90s. So in the early 2000s, there was nobody to put into some of those homes, right? So a lot of people got overzealous and they had an insane amount of rentals,
Yeah.
right? But you didn't have people to actually rent them. And Barry, the one stat that he threw, he's like, go back 30 years from those 2000 years and what date were you looking at? And it's like right around the mid 70s. What happened in the mid 70s? Abortion became legal in the United States, right? So if you're talking about birth rates going down
Yeah.
from like a good decade, right? From 1978 to about 1988, you saw a significant decrease in the population of new births, right? So now all of a sudden, if you have a decrease in new births and an increase in new construction, you're going to have a vacancy factor. Right now, we have the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Correct.
We don't have enough inventory.
No,
We
no.
don't, and new construction because of COVID got really expensive as well too. So the new construction almost came to a halt for about 24 months. If we're looking from 2020 to 2022, there was not a lot of new construction.
And then prior to that, you had the crash. So 08, 9, 10. They were not building.
They weren't.
because there was a recession, and then you couple that with millennial generation, bigger than the boomers.
Right.
Coming into home buying, so now you got the biggest generation of all time coming into home buying.
Right.
You're behind on new construction. Then you had now it's so expensive to build. So that's why people are like, oh, it's. I'm like, I don't see it, man. People are
Not right now. Of course, anything could happen.
Yeah.
I
think
never
it
want to
happens.
say never.
But never say never.
Because I said that for a good
No.
while, and then all of
No.
a sudden I remember.
I'm never gonna say never.
You remember like the late 2010? Well,
Yeah,
when you got in it.
That's what I got.
That's when everybody was losing equity in their homes left and
yeah.
right. I remember
Yeah.
I had a client in
You said never.
in Maryland, right? In Maryland. He bought the house like 2 years prior for like $450. Spent another $120,000 for like an addition back then.
Yeah.
Got his appraisal. His house wasn't even worth like what the total loan balance was on the
Yeah. Oh,
mortgages.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can happen.
So like that's the thing. It's like never say never because sometimes there are corrections. I remember when people tell me like, Javier, do you think we'll ever see 3% interest rates? It's like, never. All of a sudden COVID happened, and I think like for a good 4 or 5
Yep.
weeks we were selling like 2.875,
That's right.
2.5 rates.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like, yeah, never say never. You never know what can happen.
But I want to know about Leticia, actually, going back to Leticia. How come from lending, look at this lender here talking about all these lovely products and everything. From lending, you join
On the real estate side?
The real estate side, yeah.
I think everything that I saw my loan officers go through
Okay.
at Countrywide Home Loans, I was like, I don't really like the financing side. I wanted to be on what I thought at that time
Okay.
was the fun side. I was like, all right, let me
Okay.
get my license, and I would love to show houses. I would love to go into that avenue instead of dealing with the numbers game.
Okay.
So I saw both sides of the spectrum of
Okay.
what a loan officer actually is responsible for, and that's where I give kudos to all the loan officers as far as being able to instrument what type of loan program they would qualify for. That takes a very certain talent to do that. I thought, all right, well, let me try on the home side where it's like, okay, I enjoy taking people out. I enjoy the relationship of actually helping someone find a home.
Face to face.
Yeah, face-to-face relationship type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of fell in love with that.
Okay.
And I was like, I saw, doing the paperwork on the real estate side.
So
the
looking
difference.
back all throughout the year,
Yeah.
you're glad you made the switch?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
I'm regretting I didn't make the switch, to
Sorry.
be quite
But you know
honest
what?
with you
I
guys.
got a lot. I got a lot that I give to my loan officers that I learned from, and I definitely saw the passion in them, and that you kind of lit the fire under me to say, all right, I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, because I also learned, and speaking about fraud, right? I did a couple of things. Even in my young age, I was like, okay, I bought 2 properties, around that same time frame where it was like, okay, I learned, I know exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I want to get into the real estate side when I got my license in 2008 and 2005. But when the crash happened, I reverted, right? I reverted and I went to banking because I needed to support my family. So that's something that a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh, well, there was a little bit of a gap there within my real estate career because I had to put my license in hold while I, still was supporting my family as a banker for Chase Bank for about 4 years. So
Working in banking too, you get so much experience.
oh my God.
With people,
And I think by being bilingual and being such a young mom, now, it was very beneficial when you're bilingual, because that's how I got a lot of my opportunities.
100%.
So just being that, I think a lot of doors opened for me, and me embracing being, Latina, speaking English and Spanish, which my Spanish was not perfect when I first started.
For real?
It was bad.
Still
But
like 50-50 there.
It's still, but you know what? I
She's
could
Puerto
pull it
Rican,
off. I could
everyone.
pull it off.
So, Puerto Ricans don't really speak Spanish. They speak
Well, we
Puerto
were
Rican
talking about
Spanish
that,
or
right?
something.
Whoa,
Oh,
Carlos, I got you.
we got a video guy.
Carlos is gonna. Javier's gonna be deleted.
because they're
Carlos gonna-
Italian, right? So like Italian and Sicilians, I would say those are 2 different dialects, right? So that's how it all sometimes
Hey,
feels.
don't
with
got
get
the
don't get
best
us
of
involved. I'm
both
not backing you up.
No.
I'm out of it. Don't try to get me involved.
I am Puerto Rican. My father that didn't raise me is Mexican, so I am Puerto Rican and Mexican. But I was raised with my Puerto Rican stepdad and my mom. But the dialect, I can speak, both slang, right? I can go, because I lived in Little Village for a very long time. And I was raised there, and I went to Curie High School, a performing arts high school. So within the career and within, actually speaking with people, having those relationships with people, when I was working at Chase Bank, that's all I spoke was Spanish.
Yeah.
So, people from the community, I was over there by Six Corners.
Oh, you're at Six Corners?
Yeah, I was at Six Corners for about 2 years of my 4-year career at
Nice.
Chase. And then I went to Lawrence and Pulaski.
Chase is a tough bank to work with.
Oh my God, I was interviewed 4 times, guys.
Yeah.
I was interviewed 4 times, and I had to role play in Spanish, which that role play, I was sweating. That's how bad they were grilling me in Spanish.
They grill in sales.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
huge. They have no mercy.
Well, back in the day, I don't know if you guys saw those little YouTube videos about working the lobby for Chase bankers.
No.
So there's a lot of stickler people that, coming from the Chase world, they kind of put these memes out before memes were very popular.
Oh, okay.
Where they have scripts for you that you had to learn. When people would walk into the lobby, we would definitely work the people walking into the lobby, where if you didn't follow that specific script,
You're out.
Yeah, it was tough.
I know I had a lot of friends work at Chase, and it was like nightmare.
Yeah.
They were telling me it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was tough.
I'll never forget one time I did a small interview or whatever with someone that was recruiting me from Chase, and they were talking. I'm like, you're gonna have to do scripts. You're gonna do this. I was like, bye.
You can't be your real you.
No, you can't.
And
I would get in trouble all the time, guys.
And that's the thing.
I bet because you're more I just want to be authentic and myself.
Exactly. Exactly. That's people love that authentic feel.
Yeah.
Guys, so we're all here, right? And we're all in real estate, and everybody probably out at home are like, what's going on with real estate? What's happening? Is it a good time to buy? Should I buy? Trump is in the office. The world is ending. I mean, people,
Yeah.
people get worried. The stock market
Absolutely.
crashed. 1,000 points. I mean, at one point it was 1,400 points. I don't know, something crazy.
It was crazy, man.
So people get worried. So
People are always going to be worried. I think that you're always going to have the worry bugs out there.
Yeah.
This is my interpretation of
Okay.
everything. I'm not a politician or anything, right? But I think right now what Trump is doing, he's just accelerating everything that he said he was going to do because he only has one term, right? He already served his previous
I mean, at this
term,
point, he doesn't care.
right? So he only has 4
Yeah.
years. And to that point, does he care? I think he cares, but it's just the level of care that's there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
I think he means he doesn't need to win re-election. So he can do what
Exactly.
he wants.
So he can do whatever he
He can do his
wants.
plan.
He
He can
doesn't
do what he
need to worry about an approval rating or
Correct.
anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not going for another reelection. But, for instance, this whole FHA administration, right?
Yeah,
I think
what's
that a
happening
lot
with
of
that?
us kind of saw that kind of coming down the pike, right? Because if you're thinking about the new administration, what's one of their biggest agendas is immigration.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So FHA is a government loan. So it to me, it's not like a crazy oh my God, I didn't think this was going to happen because it is a government loan, right? So right now, one of the things that they implemented is that after May 25th, you either have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident.
Okay.
Right? Which to me makes sense. If we're going to be using government funding, right? Because that's what FHA is, right? They're using government funding to be able to give accessibility to home ownership. It makes sense that they would only make it available to U.S. citizens and stuff like that, right? But the people that are getting affected are the people like the DACA residents, right? I always say DACA residents, to me, they're no different than, U.S. permanent residents, in my opinion. They were brought here as children. They're more American than they are from where their foreign country is, right? But DACA residents are going to be restricted. People that were here on an HB1 visa, right, which is a full legal status, they're here, they got an authorization to work.
Yep.
They're no longer going to be eligible for the FHA finance.
But we're talking about FHA.
FHA.
Right? Only FHA. Because I'm
Only
positive,
FHA.
Leticia, you probably got a bunch of calls, right? Because you work with a lot of Latino, and they're probably like, what is going on? Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a motivator
Okay.
for them to have their own funds. So that we always talk about getting ready and staying ready for when you're ready to pull the trigger
Yes.
for the market, right?
Yes.
If you're ready to buy now, it doesn't matter if you're doing a FHA 3.5% down. Now we just kind of switch their mindset and okay, even if you qualify for a conventional loan, how much money down are we
Okay.
putting, right?
Because they could still do conventional then.
They
Because they
can
can
still-
still do conventional
Yes.
Okay,
Fannie
so
Mae.
it's not like they're eliminated, like, oh my God, you're not
No.
buying, we're against you.
Exactly. So
Right?
I always kind of
Okay.
say, if we're being honest here,
Yeah.
technically conventional is the better product of the both.
Yeah.
right?
If you were to
a
think
lot of
about
people
it, yeah.
sometimes think like FHA. I have clients come into my office
It gives you a better shot.
Yes.
with a
So-
750 credit score, and they're asking for an FHA loan, and I'm like, why are you asking for an FHA loan? And they're like, well, I just thought that was for first-time home buyers.
Yeah,
A lot of people think that the FH is first-time home buyer.
Yeah, they do.
and
They do.
FHA.
You're right.
So,
You're right.
You know, since you just said that, I always get this every time, and maybe you could clear the air. Like, oh, I'm a first-time home buyer. I want one of those first-time home buyer loans. And it's like, okay, back probably when we started, right, with the recession, there was like first-time home buyer credit. But there's really nothing different. If you're gonna live in the home,
Yeah.
it's the same for everybody, right?
I personally love that you just said that, Frank, because I make a joke out of it, right?
Well, I just got asked yesterday.
my
"Oh,
wife,
one of those I'm like, okay, I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm like, okay.
yeah, my wife always
Cool.
says like I keep it real, right? So,
Yeah.
and I do like to keep it real with people, right? Because I think that sometimes clouding everything with like super professionalism and like really technical words,
Yeah.
are not really necessary. Some people just want to know, like, hey, what is it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much does it cost, and what's it going to be, and
What's
can I
up?
afford
Yeah.
it, right? But when I look at the FHA conventional comparison, right? FHA, you pay 2 mortgage insurances. A lot of people don't know this,
Yeah.
but you're paying a monthly mortgage insurance, and then you're also paying 1.75 right up front to HUD to insure your loan,
Yep.
right? So I always tell everyone, if you're qualified for a conventional loan and you don't want to do 20% down, you're only going to have to pay 1 mortgage insurance, either an upfront or a borrower paid monthly.
So put dollars on that $300,000 or $350 loan. What would that be like up front? That's
So a 350,000, are you talking about down payment or?
no. Like the insurance. So
Oh, you got like
what's-
6 grand
yeah.
up front.
So
So,
6 grand,
yeah,
so
so
6 grand,
FHA
easy.
is a standard mortgage insurance. So if you're doing 3.5% down, it's
Yep.
55 basis points per year, right? So basically you multiply your loan by 55 basis points, and then you divide that by 12, and it gives you your monthly mortgage insurance.
So that's an extra insurance.
Conventional
It's
is
random.
actually lower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because you're going to have better credit scores. So the
Right.
whole thing with conventional financing, what I always tell people is that technically it's considered like a private sector loan, right? That means that a bank is banking that you're going to pay
Yeah.
them back. Right? So that's why they do want you to have higher credit scores. They do want you to have lower debt to income ratios in those cases. But to all of these like people that feel like, oh my God, I just lost out on the FHA loan, take it as a blessing, glass half full. Because now all you really have to do is position yourself, your credit, to be a conventional buyer. And that's just going to give you a leg up on competition. Because when we're facing multiple offers, conventional buyers usually get a little bit more priority than an FHA
Unfortunately,
buyer.
they do.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
they do.
absolutely.
right?
And,
You know.
and in this market, there's going to be conventional buyers.
They're going to be more competitive.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
think about it, if their credit is good enough, they could qualify for a 3% down loan, right? So my joke, to go back to that, Frank, I always tell them, first-time home buyer, it's a marketing gimmick. Because to us, that just means you're doing a low down payment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I tell you it's a first-time home buyer loan and you're a first-time home buyer, it makes you feel special. You're like, oh my God, this is for me. I'm a first-time home
But
buyer.
that's why we're here to educate them, educate the
Exactly.
consumer, right?
But
Yeah.
to us on the lending side, that just means you're going to do a minimum down payment loan.
Yeah.
That's really all that it means, right? There's no like additional credit or anything like that. There are programs where you could get like down payment assistance, right? Where you have to meet the income guidelines based off of wherever you
But
may
is
be
that
geographically.
for anyone? That's
No, and they actually offer that to repeat buyers.
Yeah,
So
so-
I've actually
so-
closed people with down payment
Yeah.
assistance that already own a home.
Yeah. So back to that, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So question for you. DACA buyer, convention once qualifies for conventional loan, what's the lowest down payment? Do they have to do
3%
20?
down.
How
No,
much?
3% down.
3%. Okay.
And they still qualify for down payment
So
assistance.
that's almost
as well,
like an
too.
actual better than FHA.
It's actually better than FHA. So that's the part where I would say
Okay.
who is going to get affected? Those residents who maybe don't have good credit scores, right? Because
Yeah.
now they're
But
going to
they
have to
could
work
on
on their
it,
credit.
right? They could work on the
Yeah.
credit.
I mean,
That's why Leticia has the Wisdom Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I think
You know?
that's
You're
super
trying to educate
important.
them, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely, super important because that's what we're doing right now. We're
Yeah.
educating, and
Right.
right now, even with our new 8.0 contract,
Yep.
everything is black and white.
Yep.
And so right now, everybody, knowledge is power.
There's always a little gray area.
Oh, okay, okay. Gotta learn from Greg right there.
Sorry. That's why,
Gotta learn from some gray right there.
Great.
Oh, okay. I like that.
It's always that gray.
I do
Yeah.
live-
But these podcasts,
Yeah.
these Wisdom Wednesdays, we're out there to educate you so that you're well informed, so that you're not nervous.
Correct.
To actually come out to the professionals, because I think that's one of the things that deter people from buying is that they're embarrassed about their
Yeah.
situation. And what we say is that we want to help you get to that position. We want to help you get to that position of I'm confident in where I'm at,
Correct.
so that now they're able to pull the trigger when they're ready for their family.
And some people too, they just follow headlines, right? They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh my
a lot
God,
of-
the world is ending. I can't buy home anymore. You know, what I mean, that's.
I'm really happy
they
that
do.
you say that, right? Because that's unfortunately that's what's out there, right? So a lot of people post stuff that sometimes isn't even accurate.
Yep.
Just for clicks, right?
Yeah,
just for
reviews,
attention.
whatever.
And it like freaks people out, right?
Yep.
Like I was seeing there was like a reel that went viral like 90 days ago or whatever, where it was like
one?
somebody was posting FHA will allow you to finance your 12 months of mortgage payments into your loan to get your home purchase done. And I was like, yeah, on a 203K loan. Why? Because you're probably not going to live in your home during that construction period, right?
Exactly.
But somebody put that out there,
Yeah.
like you could buy a home with FHA, 3.5% down, and finance the first year of your mortgage payments into the loan. That's clickbait. That's
Yeah.
not accurate information. But
Yeah.
I had probably 15 of my followers like send me the reel and be like, is this accurate? Is this true? And it's like, no, it's clickbait, right?
Yep.
That's for a 203K loan where if your property is going to be under construction for 6-7 months,
Correct.
you could finance those
Correct.
6-7 months of under construction into your loan. That you can do. But you're not going to do that on a standard forward mortgage, right? So that's the thing is that there's a lot of bad information out there.
Correct.
I sometimes cringe because like sometimes there's like information on how to commit fraud, right? Like I was watching a
Pretty
YouTube
bad.
tutorial and I was like, this is straw buyer like 101 here. And I'm like, I don't even know who will even allow you to upload this onto like.
It's terrible.
You just shouldn't. It's terrible,
I know.
right? So that's the thing that we always just kind of have to be mindful is like, are we getting the right information to the consumer? Are we educating them about it so that
Correct.
this way they can be informed?
Correct.
I always say, my job is to make your problems my problem.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that's the thing where like last year with this whole NAR settlement, when everybody was like, oh my God, they're going to have buyer's agents agreements and you have to like talk about your commission like on day one and all these things.
It's okay.
I personally think that is the best thing that happened to your business because I feel like buyers need to interview who they're hiring to be their agent. Right? If I'm a buyer, right, and it's not my wife is not a realtor or anything, like let's just say I'm a random person, I'm a buyer, I want to know, like, hey, in case we can't find a house in my budget where I'm looking to buy, like, what's your strategy or what do you recommend? People don't want to be directed. They want to be led.
100%.
Right? And that's the
100%.
one thing that I've noticed.
Yes.
There's a big gap right now is that there's people that unfortunately what they want, they can't get, but we got to lead them to what they can get. Right. So that's why I tell people like, if you can't afford to buy in Portage Park or Dunning because it's gotten too expensive for you, let's go get that condo. Right. Because there's still 2-bedroom condos and stuff in fairly decent pricing.
And then you start building your equity. And
And
little
then
by
you're
little,
building
then
equity. You're paying
move on
down your
later.
balance. And then maybe in 4 or 5 years when
Yeah.
your circumstances are better,
That's why we're still.
we sell and maybe
Correct.
cash out
Correct.
or we
Correct.
refinance and cash out of that
Correct.
for the new purchase. But always think of this long term. I think too
Exactly.
many people think of this way too short term. It's like, oh, I can't qualify for a house
I know.
in Dunning now.
I
Forget
know.
it. I'm going to continue renting. Well, I posted something a few weeks ago. The average market rent in 2000, the year 2000, in the Dunning area for a 2-bedroom apartment was $900.
Yeah, 2000. Yes, I know.
$900 in the year 2000.
And now?
we're looking at $2,600,
That's right.
$2,400, depending on where it's at. You could buy a really rundown unit or rent a really rundown unit for $1,600 to $1,700, right? But that's the part where people need to understand. Buying a house secures two things. Number one, it's an asset
Yep.
that is going to continue appreciating year in and year out. And number two, it stabilizes your housing payment. Because right now, my biggest, not fear or like my biggest concern right now are the people that are getting to retirement age that don't have a retirement plan. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who have a good pension or a good IRA plan or anything where they're going to be able to survive. So stabilizing their housing expense is the best thing that they could be doing. And it starts
For the
right
mortgage,
now.
for the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Because then you got taxes.
Taxes
That
and
we can't
everything
control.
else.
Unfortunately,
But
we can't control.
like a lot of people don't realize, right? There's a reverse mortgage out there. Whenever I have people that are like older, like 65 and older, it's like, hey, you're not making a lot of money for retirement.
do a little reverse.
Let's cash out on your 401k instead. Do 30% down. Do a reverse mortgage. You never have to worry about a mortgage payment ever again. Now, your heirs, your children, or whoever you have may have to inherit that debt or decide if they could sell it or profit from it. But if you don't have any heirs, if you don't have anybody who is relying on your inheritance, go ahead and do that option. At least this way, you no longer have a cost of living, and you could use your retirement funds to actually retire and actually enjoy retirement.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, to get also, speaking of my line, they're always like, oh, buying a house, bad investment. You could put the money here, make 10% rent. It's like, okay, that's like, they're talking like 1% of the population.
I mean, however, there's some people like maybe, hey, they invest more in their business, right? On the stock market. Some people do better, but for the most part,
most part, people who have the money sitting in their bank account, they're just going to go.
Yeah.
They're just going to go buy a new car, buy a watch, buy clothes.
So buying a house helps them to get older and do a reverse mortgage or to sell it.
But it helps against inflation. You always have a roof over your head, and it forces you to save money.
Right. Well, this is the thing too. Like you're talking, you actually hit a nail on the head on that, right? So today, let's just say 2020, we're going to go back 5 years. Your $100,000 in 2020 is probably worth $73,000 today.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the cost of inflation as well too. Like the money just sitting in the bank isn't doing anything. You got to move that money
But guys,
around.
if you think about and let's say people are like, oh my God, I'm worried there could be a crash, right? Because we can't predict everything. And if there is, let's say there is.
Yeah.
If you have a good loan program and you have a fixed rate, you could still storm just like we saw in 08, 09.
Yeah.
Just stay put, make your payments, and then you probably will appreciate again.
Absolutely.
Just don't panic.
There was actually someone who posted, they're like the worst mistake that they made was not hanging on to the real estate that they had in 08.
Exactly.
Because they hit the panic button.
They hit the panic. And
They hit the panic button. They were doing short sales. They were doing all different kinds of things because they saw the equity. When in reality, if they would have just hung in there and just gotten better renters,
think about the values right now.
Cash flow.
The values right now from 20 years ago, we all pretty much been in the business 20 years.
Yeah.
They're back.
Oh yeah, they're back.
To 20 years or more.
Yeah.
And probably our clientele, not everyone in our clientele, but their most valuable thing or their money is in their house.
Yes.
Like who we deal
100%.
with. We don't, like who we deal with is probably, hey, where's all their money? It's on their bank account. It's not in the 401k. It's in their house.
In their house.
It's their equity.
Yeah, their baby is in their house.
So it's the sooner you start, the more time we went. I think we went to the car had a little kickoff, little market update thing, and they said that like the average age of a homeowner last year was like 38, which is the guy was like, that is way too high.
Yeah.
Because you don't have time to build.
Yeah.
You're losing time is almost like your biggest asset. Even if you overpay, people that would have overpaid in like 2016.
But that's a whole another problem with society about commitment.
So
they don't want to commit in the house either.
Because like you shared your story. Me and Greg would share our story on here all the time, and you shared your story, and it's like when you follow your story to get to where you are now, before you even got started, you were there. It took you 6-7 years to get started.
Absolutely.
So and you too.
Yeah.
See, that's why I wanted to make like it took you 6 years to okay, now I'm ready to start.
Yeah.
And people come in after 6 months and they're like, "Why isn't this working?" And I think that goes for people that want to buy a house. They want to buy their, they want to buy a house. The house they should have when they're like 45, 50, when they're at their peak.
Correct.
They want it they want their first house to be like that, all done, and they just like, "Oh, it's so expensive." That's like, yeah, but.
Well, I want to talk about a success story just so that you kind of piggy off of you. The success story that we have is that we have to teach our children financial literacy. 100%. And I think that's something that right now we have a workshop coming up, not a shameless plug, but a plug. We are focusing on children from 5 years old all the way to 18 because we are not having the financial literacy taught right now in schools. And we're teaching just that. We want them to have a different mindset. We want to teach our children from an early age, instead of having that number being 38, we want that number to be much younger.
Yeah,
and then our success story is that my daughter bought at the age of 23 as well. And I think that that's a great success story because I didn't want her to start off as a renter and then see that money just evaporate, right? When you're a renter, that money is just gone. You don't see that inequity and having that build. And the whole point of having these financial literacy events is so that we could teach the younger generation to start off and be financially wealthy at an early age.
Because if you think about school, it really doesn't
They don't
teach you.
So I have a 27-year-old
You know?
and a 21-year-old. She went to one of the best high schools in Chicago. She went to Whitney Young High School. My oldest
that's
went
a
to
really good high
Taft.
school.
Yeah.
Did they teach her how to
They do not.
have a credit card, build credit?
And that's the thing, right?
Save
What we were
money.
talking about earlier, our college students are being presented with a credit card right when they walk in as a freshman.
Yeah, this is a society that, they have corporations. They want you to make payments. 'Cause
Oh,
that's how
yeah.
they make money. They
Exactly.
Make interest. They don't
Your
make money
debt-
on you saving money.
Yeah, exactly. You're what do they say that you're in debt to the creditor, and that's what we're trying to avoid, especially in our younger generation, especially with our young kids.
Yeah.
If we have more of these programs teaching them, our future is going to be much brighter, because now our children have that mindset of, yes, I'm going to be wealthy. Yes, I'm going to have financial wealth as I get older. So right now, speaking to you right now, within 3 years, my daughter has about $100,000 in equity because she bought at the age of 23. Now
That's
she's
amazing.
27 in 3 years time.
Amazing.
And this is a condo.
And if she wouldn't bought and do like all her other friends,
Exactly.
she would have zero.
Nothing. And that's the thing, right? She is one step above her
She had
friends.
to have been negative because then friends would increase.
Oh my God. And that's the thing, right? What
Exactly.
people
You
don't
know?
understand, and we were able to help her,
That's awesome.
is that even right off the bat, her rent would have been $1,550.
Easy.
Her mortgage started off under $1,300,
Wow.
including a monthly HOA, which is, your monthly assessment fee. And so right off the bat, she's already getting that generational wealth. So if she decided
Correct.
to keep that as an investment
Correct.
property,
Correct.
or she can sell it and have that as a down payment for her future home.
Correct.
But,
Exactly.
I mean, it worked out perfect for her. But even if it went up 10,000, she would be paying less than rent.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
she gets the tax write-off.
I agree with you.
That's
Well,
the whole
we
thing.
keep on talking about taxes. That's what's happening right now. And that's why I'm like, hey, make sure
Exactly.
that your
Yeah.
taxes are in order to make sure that your monthly mortgage payment's not going to increase substantially because of her escrow account.
Yeah.
So that's something that we always have to remind our clients. We always
Exactly.
remind you to make sure you have those exemptions that you deserve, so
Yeah.
that when that tax bill does come up,
And you
because we
keep an
know,
eye.
yeah,
They
we know
always
that
go
that
up.
tax bill is going to come up.
And then like someone who bought last year, this year, it's like they're making a payment, but let's say we do have a downturn. The benefit, the rate will probably go down. So then they could lower their payment.
Right.
By
That's true too.
So it's like when you're renting,
However you see it.
it's like, okay, if you're getting a new job and you're okay, I gotta move to New York. I don't know, I might be there 8 months, I might be there 2 years. Maybe you rent, right? You don't want. I'm just saying buy everywhere you're gonna live. But if
Yeah.
you know, like, hey, this is where I like it here. I'm gonna live here.
Maybe I sound like a broken record, but however you see it, in America, buying is always a benefit.
Yeah.
The system is built to promote real estate.
Absolutely.
And that's it. Is in Europe, I'll tell you the truth, I have a house that I bought 10 years ago. It's worth not even $1 more than I bought 10 years ago. After
Okay.
10 years. Because in Europe, it's harder to get a loan.
Yeah.
There's no
And then-
3%,
yeah,
5%.
yeah,
you got to have 30%.
And
You got to have a
that's why-
job for 2 years. Like, they don't care.
And the money they make, you can make more.
This system runs around real estate for now, because I don't know, depending what Trump is doing, all the jobs and stuff, what he wants, I don't know, But the system is around real estate,
Yeah.
and it's a hedge against inflation as well.
Yeah.
So,
And you know
I
what?
like
The
that.
one thing that I always kind of tell people, especially parents, right? Once your kids start going to school, use it as an opportunity to invest as well too, right? Instead of paying for a dorm or anything like, you can do a kiddie condo.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they call them, kiddie
Yeah,
condos,
yeah.
right? Where it's basically you're signing a mortgage for your kid, right? They don't have a job or anything like that yet, but if you're making enough money and you qualify for it, you could still buy. Technically, that's an investment property for yourself as a parent for 5% down.
Well, these people had money, so not everyone could do this. But I sold one in the city. The guy, the son was going to be a doctor, so he had 6 He's like, the guy's like, it's a 6-year program. He's gonna be here 6 years. I'm paying. I mean, he had the money, he bought cash. He goes, even if I break even, I'm saving $2,000 a month rent because it was $1,000 for association.
Yeah.
So he's like, even if it doesn't go up, I'm saving 24. It's 24,000 a year. So I'm saving 60 grand. So even if I sell it for the same monay, 60 grand, I'll save 60,000 by doing it. But yeah, it's like you gotta,
You gotta think outside of the box. You
gotta
gotta.
get outside the box, and you gotta, sometimes
Long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That was
before,
the long term thinking that the guy.
exactly.
It's like I remember during COVID, I had a buyer who was like not overpaid because the house is worth more now, right? But back then, we outbid like $65,000 over asking price in Park Ridge. But their whole concept, because they were coming from Lakeview. So they're like, in Lakeview, we have to pay for
know
private
what you're
schools,
saying. Schools.
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
So he did the cost analysis on how much he was
Yeah.
saving in tuition because he had 3 kids. He's like, I'm still going to come out ahead. He's like,
Yeah.
this is a better investment for me
Sure.
every way around.
Off
right?
record, did you guys find a house?
Not yet.
Because
Not yet,
this
we're
lovely
looking.
couple,
yet.
they just got married. Congrats.
Yes,
right.
thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
Can I release that information?
Yeah.
Why not?
Sure. Hey, no, it's out there.
You guys did. You're supposed to ask before.
I think everybody knows.
No, I'm on social media, so everybody
Yeah.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's in love with the bungalow, so
Did you
we're
find
in that
one?
hunt.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I think that's
Actually,
the
I
hardest
found one,
thing.
but I don't know if they want to
I got
sell
one
it.
coming up. We got to cover one more thing before we finish up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about not on the market. What do you guys think about these private listings?
Oh man.
Like all this going out,
Yeah, so private listings, I'll just give a quick thing.
Yeah,
Private
please.
listing is, it wouldn't hit the internet, it wouldn't hit Zillow, Redfin, all the sites, but it would be on the MLS. Very restrictive info. You just have the paragraph. And sometimes they let you see it. It was kind of like a coming soon thing people used to do. Or, for example, if you had a tenant in there, it wasn't showing it, but the guy wants to sell. All right, we'll throw it up on private. Maybe we'll
Okay.
get someone. Because it's like you don't want to lose market time. So it was a way to put something on the market without losing market time, and then
Yep.
you kind of feel out the market.
But nobody sees it.
So
Well, if you have an
Okay.
agent, you see it.
yeah.
What are you talking? Okay. Anyways, let's see. Let's see.
So this is the thing, right? And we have firsthand on this private network, right? Private listing network, the PLN.
Okay, PLN.
On MLS.
Uh-huh.
We actually were right now in the process of renovating Javier's house so that
Right.
we can sell it. We
Okay.
put it on the PLN.
So you put it in private.
We put it
Yeah.
on private.
Okay.
We got tons of activity, right?
Okay.
Because there's really nothing like right now we were talking about it being a seller's market.
Okay.
And so right now we got phone calls, people
Yeah.
want to see it, all that.
Okay.
Javier's like, we don't want to show it until it's renovated.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
took it off the PLN, but we were interested in another property that was on the PLN.
Okay.
And this is where the trouble comes in, right? So that real estate broker was going to put it live on the market on March 18th. I remember this date because it was my mom's birthday.
Okay.
Still not on the active network,
Okay.
but it's still not off of the PLN.
Okay.
So the problem with that is that we were interested. We actually made an offer on the property.
Okay.
They did not accept our offer because we were contingent to the sale of Javier's house.
Okay.
So now it's just stale. It's just sitting there, no activity, not live on the market. So now I'm wondering,
So what is he doing?
Is that gonna? I don't know. So is that gonna affect?
She's an
and this
idiot.
Is where that Zillow.
So you guys know me, I'm a lender, but I just call it and I see it, right?
Tell me
So
what-
it's strategies, right,
Whoa.
guys?
I don't
Strategies.
think that's
Wait,
a
wait.
good strategy.
It's a terrible
For who?
strategy.
For who?
For the
For
seller.
The seller.
So in
You
this
have a
particular
ready,
case, I
willing, able
personally
buyer.
think the house is overpriced. Number
Yes.
one,
Yes.
definitely overpriced. That's why I don't
Okay.
think it's moving because I'm seeing the other comps that are coming out. And I'm like,
It's
this house
not.
is actually maybe a little bit better, and it's selling for like 100K less.
Okay.
Right. So that's number one off bat. But I feel like the communication, there's like no negotiation. The reason why I love this guy when I work, this is negotiation. It's like, oh, what is this? What's that? Oh, we'll work about it. We'll figure it out. We'll get there when we get there. But it's like you negotiate something,
Yeah,
right?
always, the whole
So
process.
that's the thing where I'm seeing like there's no negotiations or no leveraging of any sort whatsoever. And in my opinion, it's just overly priced. I think it was listed for 485.
$495, and
Okay.
right now some of the comps are coming in around $450.
Okay.
And it's in Dunning.
Okay.
And yeah, we're just.
But my question is like, isn't it a good benefit for the seller if he has like hiding?
So
like,
I
for
don't
me,
think
I
so.
say
forget
no.
about that. I say no too.
My
say no.
idea is no. To me,
I say no.
private listing network
Let's forget
is,
about that
is a
overpriced.
step up over for sale by owner.
Right?
In my
Exactly.
opinion.
Yeah,
And I'm going to
yes.
put that out there.
100%.
To me, it's like a step up over for sale by owner. And this is why. Because if only the company can see that listing.
Any realtor.
A lot of consumers are not using a realtor in the initial search process.
Exactly.
That is where this caveat
Yes.
is coming in.
Yes.
I go to open houses.
Yes.
Why? Do you guys think Javier likes to sit at an
Yes.
open house just to be at an open house? I go to open houses because that's where active buyers are at.
Yes.
So I like to meet active buyers.
But where they're finding this open houses?
Apps.
On apps,
Zillow,
right?
Redfin,
Yeah.
everything else, right? So that's where they're finding it. So that consumer doesn't get access to that private listing network.
Exactly.
Right? So to me, that's a disadvantage for the seller.
Yep.
Because maybe that buyer would have given you 30K, 40K more had they known that
Exactly.
that property was on the market.
100%.
So that's where I see it being a disadvantage to sellers because you're not giving the whole consumers an opportunity
Exactly.
to actually take a look at your property and
Yeah,
actually
but
bid on
sometimes
it.
sellers don't listen.
Oh,
That's-
No, I
they're
get-
requesting it to be on
Listen.
the private network.
No. So I'll give you an example. If like I have 2 sellers, they have tenants. I said you have to get them out.
Yeah, but that's a different situation. You have tenants.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we're not saying like you need to eliminate private listing. I say there's a need for some people in the market. Somebody has tenants.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't want to let nobody know that they're selling their home, right? Maybe for those people. But now a lot of realtors, I'm sorry, the Compass, everybody, and maybe
Yeah,
they
no,
hate
that's
me, but they're like making
No,
like,
but,
it's an exclude, oh my God, I'll get you the best dollar.
Compass bought a huge market share. Now they're trying to like hoard it to themselves so they could just drive.
Right.
try-
I'm saying they're making it seem like it's a benefit when you have less eyeball,
Yeah,
like you
less
said. A lot of the
and less fear because like
And
like you're
technically,
saying-
like it's a conflict. Like what Compass is doing, where it's only in the Compass network.
Yeah,
To
it's
me,
conflict.
there's a conflict, right? Like I remember, I'm not going to name this brokerage, but they had a habit where they would wait for one of their agents to submit
yeah.
an offer in
Wow.
order to accept the offer, right?
Well, you're-
Right? Weird, right? And
Yeah.
it's like I remember a couple of times because sometimes you got to have some brass balls in this business.
Listen, I'll tell you the
And you
truth.
call people out.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what? I want to see my buyer's offer rejected and timestamped.
For real.
And that didn't
I
happen.
agree with you.
So we filed this lawsuit against that brokerage
It is
because
what
of
it
it,
is.
right? So that's the part where I do tell my average consumer, you want to make sure that you have someone who's going to represent you, who's going to look after your best interest at all times. And that to me right there is like, I see it happening and it's almost like, what's happening? It's Redfin and Zillow basically having a fight with Compass and some of these
Yeah,
other big
that's-
boxes.
that's what it is.
That's really what's happening.
That's
Yeah,
what's
because
happening.
what their card is like, okay, well then your seller is going to be upset when they don't see it online.
Yeah.
And so then we'll see how you answer that. 'Cause
Exactly.
then, that's what they're like, oh, is it going to be on all the websites? That's what you want.
And those are like the 2 first search engines that you see usually,
Yeah, I
right?
think
It's
at the
usually
end-
Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin. Those are like
Yeah,
the top
yeah.
3.
At the end of the day, the more excitement you create, you bring more people in the listing. Yeah, is it more work for us? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it brings the best money to the seller pocket,
Yeah.
and that's it.
And I think that should be every realtor's
know.
goal. I think you as a listing agent, your job is to get your seller top dollar for their
Yeah.
property.
Like I
right?
tell people too, I give a shot to everybody. They're like, "Oh, you already sold." I'm like, "No, you get a shot. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You don't have to come. Everybody's coming between those 3 days. You'll have a shot, then I'll present to the seller."
Exactly.
And even on Monday, if we haven't accepted, they're like, "Oh, but you didn't give me a shot. I didn't get to come. Like, send an offer. It's not a big
Send it.
deal.
Exactly.
I'll get you in the door.
Exactly.
You got to get the best money for your seller. That's
Exactly.
what it comes down
That's
to.
always the job.
It's really simple.
That's why, like, even where I tell my buyers when they're like, I might work with the listing agent, I was like, the listing agent's number one job is to work for the seller.
Yes.
You need your own representation.
Yes. 100%.
Right? So
Yes.
I'm really glad that you
I agree.
really hit that nail on the head there, man.
This was a good podcast, guys.
Yeah, it was good.
It was fun.
Definitely, man.
fun.
It was good. You
I
guys
think
are-
we all need to go back to work now.
Yes, we got calls and missed.
Our phones are all buzzing here on the table. But yeah, I'm glad to have you, Leticia, and meeting you in person.
Absolutely.
And he's a lucky
You're
guy.
the real deal.
Always. So
Oh,
you're
thank
lucky
you.
too.
Oh, thank
you know,
you.
you're
Thank
a
you.
good guy. You're both lucky.
I'm very happy to have met you in person.
Thank you.
We
Good.
follow you all the time.
Good,
Keep
thank
up with
you.
the great work.
I do
Carlos
too.
does a really good job too.
Yeah.
And nice meeting you, Frank.
No,
It was
great. It was a
awesome.
pleasure.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And I got to tell you, you got like a second career being like a online chef because I love.
Oh, yeah.
I do like the chef thing. I'm not gonna lie. I like that cooking more than selling real estate. But with that, episode 45, it's over. Ciao, ciao.
Absolutely. Ciao.
Are you ready, buddy?
And now he does a story.
All right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ready? Look at her.
You ready to
Look at
from the
Frank.
start?
Okay, guys, we're gonna get going. Come on, come on.
Get
Let's
ready.
do this.
Get ready.
Let's do this.
Salud.
Salud. Salud.